Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. I was sent clips of a 4-hour podcast Andrew Tate just did where he expressed his disgust at the elimination of children in Gaza, and he spoke about the evil agenda behind the Palestinian genocide, as well as the satanic intentions of those involved in it and of the people that promote it. Tate also addressed the growing trend of anti-Muslim bigotry in the UK, Europe and the US, and how the anger these small-minded groups direct at Islam should be redirected at themselves for letting their nations become so weak and degenerate that they have become a mess. He also labelled the culture in the West as satanic, especially compared to stable Muslim nations like Saudi, the UAE and Qatar. The brother stated the reason why Satanists, I would call them Zionists also, hate Islam and Muslims is because they fear it, as it is the last defence against evil and degeneracy. And in the case of Islamophobes, he stated that they are in denial about the reality that the problems of the West are of their own making due to their weak morality and lack of belief in God. This is evident in how Islamophobes cower in anonymous dark corners of the internet, wasting their time typing away in comment sections, which no one reads, and in how their figureheads desperately use their fringe echo chambers to say derogatory things about Muslims and Islam for clout, whilst doing nothing to improve the nations they reside in. Let's roll the first clip where Tate speaks about the children in Gaza and the sadistic reason why they are being eliminated by the tens of thousands.
Last time I felt like I really did the right thing is when I did Piers Morgan. And he started asking me about Israel-Palestine. And when I put his stupid ass in his place about Israel and Palestine, I felt good again. I was like, no, I've made the right decision. I was on Twitter and I was watching all the bombings in Gaza. I was like, bro, they're literally killing kids. And this isn't about Palestine, Israel, 1947. That's a long and detailed argument. They are killing children with bombs. I have a kid that age.
Yeah.
I see a kid missing her arm, a little girl the same age as my daughter. Name a war that wasn't built on a lie. Millions of lives lost. Millions of lives affected by extension, fathers lost, brothers lost, sons lost. For what? For a lie. And what was the point of the lie? Money. I don't think many people understand truly how evil the agenda is. As arm manufacturers make weapons and destroy random farmers in some random country under the guise of freedom, and they'll make up a lie and they'll just justify it somehow and they'll sleep easy at night. It's truly evil because they don't give a shit about anything but size themselves. They don't care about you and they don't care about your kids and they don't care about the people they kill and they don't care about lives they affect. They never feel guilt. They never look in the mirror and feel bad. This is why we need God more than ever. I think one of the most heinous things people can do is to sit and wish for the deaths of other humans. And a lot of these people who consider themselves conservative are just calling for forever war. It's truly disgusting because I hold liberal opinions. It's very liberal to support Palestine. That's what the left does. Not the right. I'm considered right-wing and conservative. Why am I so adamant in my support for Palestine? So I hold different ideas on both sides of the fence because that's how I view the world. Some of these guys which instantly sign up with like Daily Wire team. I love Candace. She's amazing and she's true. But some of these other people on the Daily Wire, every single thing is exactly what they were told to say and what they believe. Have they just sold their soul to the other side? They've got their sponsorship contract from the Daily Wire and they say what they're supposed to say. And they repeat what they're supposed to repeat. Otherwise, they lose their money. And then you start to say, well, who's behind them? I don't want to say any names, but Ben Shapiro. Go to war, go to war, go to war. Get the vaccine, get the vaccine, get the vaccine. Go kill people for Israel, go to war. Yeah, we need to go to war all the time. Bro, you go to war. You go to fucking war. Why are you telling everyone else to go to war? You go fight. No, you don't want to fight. You want to sit in your little desk. Guy's full of shit. And he's being paid to say things. And then he had to release a rap song to try and distract everyone for the fact he was calling for the genocide of children. And he's like, oh, maybe if I make a fool of myself, people will forget. I don't forget. You're a dumbass. And one day I'll meet you probably because we're in the same-ish spheres. And I'll look down there and call you a little nerd.
It truly is heartbreaking seeing the images of children and people in general in Gaza being harmed, especially if you have children, like the brother said. As a parent, the shock of seeing lifeless children is horrifying, and the sobering sight of seeing orphan children with no parents really hurts my soul on a deep level. I respect how Tate did not hesitate in calling out media shills like Piers Morgan and Ben Shapiro. Internet geek Shapiro in particular is a slimy individual that gives me the creeps. Anyone that tries to justify innocent children and civilians being hurt out of a racial, religious or cultural bias is rotten to the core. I've always said as Muslims we should not be taking sides in silly Western political games, as we have Islam as our ultimate authority. So I was happy to hear Tate talk talk about how he decides right from wrong, outside the boundaries of conservative versus liberal, or right-wing versus left-wing politics. As Muslims, we use the Qur'an and Sunnah to determine whether those man-made theories qualify as moral compared to our supreme guidance. He also highlighted the problem with boxing oneself into a Western political ideology, as you could end up supporting a genocide if you lean right, or end up supporting rainbow brainwashing being pushed onto kids if you lean left. Astaghfirullah. Let's keep it simple and always lean towards Islam over everything. In the next clip, Andrew Tate addresses the Islamophobes who spew hatred towards Muslims and blame us for their failed nations. Let's roll the clip.
And the problem with Christianity, it's based on this endless idea of forgiveness and tolerance, and that's been corrupted and polluted. I'm a Muslim now, but that breaks my heart because people of the book are people of the book, and we need more God, not less God. Christianity's reached a point where it's mocked so openly and so publicly in Christian nations. And I think the attraction of Islam, for me personally, and also for a lot of other people now, is there's a lot of people who are just tired of being mocked. And they want a religion which they respect and other people respect. And whether you're an atheist or you're a Christian, and you can disagree with Islam all you want. However, I will argue the point that it is the most respected religion on the planet. Nobody openly mocks it without fear. If they do, they at least make sure they're very careful about hiding their face or hiding behind a police barricade. Whereas people will mock Christianity openly and think it's a joke. I have some good friends in England who are particularly conservative, and they're upset by the changing demographics of the nation. And I grew up in England, and I do understand the innate culture of England, and I do understand why they feel threatened. And a lot of them are very anti-Islam. And I try and explain to them, I can be a Muslim, but I can agree with the fact that you want to preserve the UK. But you're mad at Islam like it's Islam's fault, and it's not. You can't, as Muslims, turn up to a strongly, truly Christian nation and just conquer the religious landscape if Christianity is being absolutely respected. In Europe, people keep complaining about the spread of Islam. Well, where's Christianity? If you leave a complete power vacuum, what do you expect to happen? You'll struggle to find very many Christian parts of Europe. In the West, there's no God at all besides Islam. You're either an atheist or you're a Muslim. And if I had to choose between the two, or if I had to choose which one I'd want my son to be, I'd choose for them to be Islamic. I often say this to people. I say, would you rather your son come home and say he's transgender or say he's a Muslim? Because we're getting to that point. If Christianity keeps failing, you're going to end up with a son that's either going to come home and be a liberal or come home and be a Muslim. Which one would you choose? I'd actually like to ask this to all the conservative Christians in America. Christianity is little by little giving up power and being decimated in real time. And at some point in the future, you have two choices: liberal insanity and transgenderism, or Islam. Which one would you choose? And I think most Christians would actually sit, if they answered honestly, and say, I'd rather them worship God. I'd rather Islam. Christianity should be responsible for preserving the culture of the USA, whereas Islam, I feel like, is better at preserving the culture of the nations it subsides over. So if you measure the success of a religion, it's hard to say Islam's not a successful religion. Islamic nations are Islamic, and they feel Islamic. And it's hard to go against the Islamic norms and the Islamic thoughts in Islamic nations. When I see these gay preachers and the Pope talking about same-sex marriage and how important transgenderism, that breaks my heart. And I'm not even Christian. I've read the Bible and I've read the Quran, and they're so much closer than people realize. If you were to get the average Christian from Georgia in the countryside, he will see Islam as this far off Arabic religion. Yeah. It's for Middle Eastern people. So is Christianity. It's from the same place. Only 20% of Muslims are Arabic anyway. There's huge Islamic nations which are Asian. There's Indonesia, Malaysia, there's huge Islamic nations.
Recently, I've had my fair share of clashes with far-right Islamophobes like Tommy Robinson and his powerless minions. The most these idiots can do is a retweet and some racist memes. Spoiler alert, guys, I rarely check the comment sections on platforms like X or Instagram, as I have other people who do that for me. So thanks for the promotion, and keep typing away for hours on end behind your anonymous profiles like you're making a difference. Good luck with that. Andrew said that it saddens him that Christianity has been changed and corrupted. And I get where he's coming from. As Muslims, we do say that Christianity in its original form, as well as the Bible, has been corrupted and changed over centuries on a regular basis. And we are told in the Qur'an that Christians that practice true monotheistic Christianity, like what was revealed to Prophet Jesus by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, makes them the people of the book, like Andrew said. However, the polytheistic Trinity nonsense and the waving of rainbow flags in churches are massive changes and corruptions in the modern version of the Bible and Christianity. The sad thing is, Christians have more in common with atheists these days, and a lot of them also promote right-wing style bigotry towards Muslims in the modern era. Tate went on to speak about how Christianity being openly openly mocked at nations that were previously Christian and that now are secular atheist is the real cause of the problems in the West. And like he said, and like I highlighted previously, people don't dare mock Islam in the same way unless they hide their identities, because we simply won't tolerate any disrespect. He also challenged Islamophobes to address their own lack of morals, masculinity and religious convictions, instead of blaming Islam and Muslims for their own failings. I couldn't agree more. The brother stated that Islam is the only successful religion throughout time until the present day due to the dedication of its followers, as well as the cultural stronghold it has, and because of the concise manner in which it is practiced in Muslim and atheist nations. Andrew said that in the West the only worship of God being practiced is because of Islam, due to Christians conforming their religious values to atheists. And when the brother spoke about posing the question to Christians and Islamophobes of whether they would want their sons to be either Muslim or rainbow flag bearers, Tate said he thinks they would choose Muslim. I have to respectfully disagree. I think these people harbour so much hate and resentment towards Islam and Muslims that they would actually choose the Satanic option over Islam. I like how the brother addressed a common misconception that these bigots make in terms of labelling Islam a backwards Arab religion. He stated that Christianity is from the same region, and before the Islamophobic atheists start shouting about how they hate religion and Arab culture, I will add that the Western culture you are shouting for from 50 years ago was built on the principles of the Bible. So by default, you're a product of Arab culture. You owe Arab civilizations because they taught you how to behave like civilized people. Let's roll the final clip where the brother speaks about how Muslim nations are miles ahead of the West.
I want to make this clear as well, because a lot of people ask about my reversion to Islam. The only kind of nations I see which worship anything above money are the Muslim nations. I think they're the only nations who sit and say there's something more important than money. No, we will not teach LGBT to children. We don't care about what money you offer us or what sanctions you put on us. That is haram. If you only worship money, eventually you're going to end up controlled and corrupted. And that's why I think Islam's one of the last resistances to this insanity. And perhaps you can move to Qatar and you can worship God and you can pray 5 times a day like you're supposed to and you can have a very happy life. But outside of that, I'm struggling to find answers. Every single country has its taboo subjects. In Dubai, you better not insult the leaders or God. However, the problem we have in the West is that the subjects we're not allowed to attack, the ones that are taboo, are the ones which I believe are genuinely detrimental to society. I feel like I have freedom of speech in Saudi Arabia, which is a very controlled country. But I feel like I have freedom of speech because I don't want to say the things I'm not allowed to say. I don't want to insult God, and I don't want to promote transgenderism. So I feel like everything I say is allowed to be said, so I feel free. The Western world's built on this idea of freedom where most other nations aren't. Other nations are built on the idea of God. We've lost that, and we're saying you don't have to believe in God or any type of God. You don't have to even be patriotic. You can hate this place, but you're free to do whatever. God is always going to be the final resistance to insanity, which is what I said about the Islamic countries, because there's always has to be a line. If money can corrupt, you'll agree with anything, because money can be printed. If the idea is on the side of money, or if money is on the side of idea, you'll agree with anything. The only thing that's ever going to stop you is if you get to a religious conviction. Only God is going to get to a point where it says, it doesn't matter how much you pay me, it doesn't matter what you make me believe, it doesn't matter what the AI machine does, it doesn't matter how you've psyoped me and indoctrinated me, it doesn't matter how long you've been trying to convince me this is true. I know that my holy book and the God I believe in says this is wrong, so I refuse to believe. Only God is the final barrier to the absolute slave mind insanity, which is why they fear God, which is why they don't want to teach children about religion. So you have to draw that hard line, and God makes it easier to draw the hard line because it's haram. Oh, but he's gay and haram. Yeah, but haram. Hard line. That's why they don't like God, because there's a hard line. They don't want you to have a hard line. The evil people, I think they're very openly Satanists. I don't truly know what a Satanist worships, but I guess the idea is absolute free will and absolute hedonism and no respect or no obligation to my bloodline or my society or my duty to the people who I care about. I guess it's just a degree of innate selfishness.
I think Tate made a fair statement about how Sharia law stabilises countries and protects them from being corrupted by monetary agendas. However, to be completely honest, we are seeing some innovations in cities like Riyadh in Saudi, and I'm sure you've heard about some behind the scenes untoward behaviour in Dubai that would not be considered Islamic. But in large, these nations don't promote haram things being taught to children. They don't promote haram in public. The call to prayer is heard 5 times a day without fail. Religion and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promoted above everything. A great example of this is how Qatar refused to promote silly Western ideologies and culture during the World Cup because it was simply not Islamic. The comparison Andrew made about how in places like the UAE and Saudi Arabia it's forbidden to attack God, versus in the West it is forbidden to attack ideas which are deemed satanic in most religions, is the real reason why the West is falling apart. Personally, whenever I am in countries like the UAE or Saudi, I feel safer and more in tune with God and nature. I don't feel the weight of negative influences or ideologies on me. The people are more sane and down to earth, with common sense and courtesy being abundant in the culture. I agree with the brother when he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the final defence against Western brainwashing. The Qur'an clearly tells us what is forbidden and what is permitted, and that's why they don't want kids to practice religion in schools. It's so they can indoctrinate them with their own ideologies. This is why they ultimately fear Islam, because as long as Muslims are dedicated to the practice of their religion, the satanic agenda cannot truly be fully implemented. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this, and in order to guide and support each other in our deen. Or if you have more serious personal issues you need help with, please feel free to book a call with me. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah